All right, so I'm here with Dolmar Cross, star of A&E show, Zombie House Flipping Tampa. Did I get it right this
You
time?
got it right.
Let's
Yes,
go.
That's it.
Okay, so if you don't know this man, you got to look him up. Incredible person, incredible TV talent, right? Which is hilarious because you're a shy guy.
That's why I'm
It's been
laughing.
a while. Been trying to lock you down to get you here. You know?
Literally 2 years. I
Yeah.
think almost 2 years.
You keep hiding. Whenever I see you, you're like moving away.
But not today. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone where I think people think it's hilarious that I'm on TV, but I'm really reserved, kind of shy. Um, you know, but I'm trying to step out of that now.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Here we are, man. Here we are. So. Everybody's got an origin story, right? And I think we've talked about this before, and it still blows my mind because it doesn't matter where you start, what your background is, a business like real estate investing, you can get started no matter what your background is, right?
Correct.
That's what's so great about it, so cool, transformational. You started out your career early 20s as a balloon artist.
Balloon
right?
artiste.
Balloon
You gotta make
artiste.
it sound a
Oh,
little
I'm
fancy,
sorry.
man.
I'm sorry. Balloon
Balloon
artiste. Yes, of course,
Yeah.
artiste. You were the top echelon.
Yeah, dude, I was making pregnant monkeys. Not everybody can make a pregnant monkey. Come on, that's
I
like
kind of want to
talent.
see that.
That's talent right
That
there.
does sound talented. How'd you even get started in that?
Desperation, money.
Yeah.
I was a broke college student, barely making ends meet, and I needed a job. I was looking through the newspaper, and I saw balloon artist needed. And it's like,
It was
okay.
in the newspaper.
Yeah, it was in the newspaper.
I need that. You said I need that in my life.
It was the only thing available that it was the only company that was hiring at the time. And I think some of the things that they had in the ad, appealed to me. They're also willing to train. They said,
Wait. Let's not go past that. You said some of the things in the ad appealed to you. What were these things?
I don't even remember now. I don't remember what it was.
Was it
but
time freedom? Was it flexible
It had to be-
schedule? You're outdoors.
Yes, I think that was. I remember that was one of the things. Flexible schedule, because I was a student.
Yeah,
I needed
yeah.
a flexible schedule. So make your own hours, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
those are some of the things that appealed to me, and free training. They would train you because obviously I didn't have any experience when I saw the ad, and so I applied. They called me back right away. I had to start training the very next day. I was in training for about a week, and then
It's legit.
I got my first gig in a restaurant.
So, your first job was in a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how long were you balloon artiste until you moved on to the next thing in life?
I did that for about 6 months,
Okay.
some give or take around 6 months. What happened was, you know what, that job pushed me also into, there were two things that pushed me into real estate. That job was one of them, because one day, it was a day that I had to work that night. I was driving my friends to somewhere. I don't remember where we were going. And I was on the highway, and a truck hit me. It was switching lanes and hit me.
Big semi truck?
Yeah, yes.
Holy smokes.
And I got into a car accident, and I called my boss and told him that, hey, I cannot work tonight. I just got into a car accident. And I remember him saying, well, are you dead? Are you good? Okay, no, I need you to work tonight. No excuses. If you're not going to the hospital in an ambulance, I need you to work tonight.
Dang.
And in that moment, I was like, are you serious? And so I just quit. I'm on the highway.
On the side of the road?
On the side of the road, accident
Yeah.
scene going on. But I was so scared, like respectful. I wanted to call him, let him know, hey, this happened. He was one
Yeah.
of the calls I made,
Yeah.
in addition to my parents, etc. And I remember just standing there like, what? And I just quit right there
Yeah.
on the
Wow.
on the highway, on the side of the road. And obviously I had to figure out how I'm going to make money now. I still had my door-to-door sales job as well. So I had 2 jobs in college.
Okay.
The balloon artiste one was one of them.
Yep.
And door-to-door sales, selling dish network satellites was the other one. So I still was making some money, but I also knew that I had to do something different. I was sick and tired of being 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 broke. My parents had to bail me out oftentimes every single month financially. And I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad that opened my
This is
eyes.
around this time.
This is around this time. This
Okay.
is the year 2004. So I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad that opened up my eyes to the possibilities of what could be with real estate. And so I started getting interested in real estate in 2004. I remember buying all the books, the CDs back then, the board game. And when I was driving to neighborhoods to go knock on doors, I wasn't listening to music. I was listening to these audio recordings of how to change my life
Yeah.
and get into real estate. So, but I didn't know how because it was not a step-by-step book.
Yeah.
It opened my eyes to what's possible, but it was not a
Not the
step-by-step guide.
implementation, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like do this first and do this. So I didn't know how to start. And so fast forward to the year 2005, my ex-girlfriends, let me back up a little bit. So I'm talking to my dad, my parents about what I want to do. Remember, I'm 20 years old, broke college student, balloon artist.
So you read this book and you're like, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, this is what I want to do.
Wow, okay.
But I didn't know how to start. But I told my parents, I knew it was what I wanted to do so much so that I told my parents, hey, I want to be a real estate investor. I'm going to get into real estate investing. And my father, my dad's a pastor. I grew up in the church my entire life. I did a lot of ministry, travel and everything. And my parents are from Jamaica. So I was born in Jamaica. So are my parents. My sister, my brother and I are from Jamaica. My sister is from Barbados. So my dad's ministry had us traveling quite a bit. But coming from the Caribbean islands, my dad's only thought of success here in America was to go to school, go to college, get your degree, graduate, go to corporate America, and climb the rungs of that ladder to success. That was his only idea of success here in America. So here I am, 20 years old, broke, no established credit, no money. I'm telling him I want to be a real estate investor. He didn't think that was realistic. Now, of course, my dad wanted me to be ambitious and strive for greatness, but also, son,
Let's be realistic, right?
Yeah. Stick in school, stay in school, get that degree, and so on. But I just knew that was not the path for me. I did not want to build someone else's dream, someone else's empire. I knew that my birthright was out there waiting for me, and I was going to go get it. And I wasn't going to allow anyone or anything to stop me.
Yeah.
And so I was smart enough, thankfully, at 20 years old to realize, okay, it's not that my dad doesn't want me to succeed. My dad just doesn't know what he doesn't know. Why would I ask for advice from a pastor who has never done real estate before? If I want to succeed in this business, I got to go seek advice from the people who have done it before me. I didn't do it in that moment, though.
Yeah.
But my dad said, hey, stay in school, and I didn't want to do that. So I talked to my friends in college. They said, Dolmar, you're going to fail before you even start. I talked to my ex-girlfriends at the time, people I was in relationships with. They said, you're going to fail. Like, who do you think you are? You think success is meant for you? You're a balloon artist. Like, what are you doing? And so when you think about the people I just mentioned, friends, people in your relationships,
Family.
with, your parents, your family.
Yeah.
When you share your ideas, your passions, your goals, your dreams with these people, and they're not supportive, they don't back you up, like you get a lot of lack of confidence creeps in, self-doubt, fear,
It's very hard.
frustration. So a lot of people give up on their dreams often because of that, or they put it on the back burner. And before long, it's forgotten about.
Yep.
Thankfully, I didn't do that, but I also didn't have the money to start. So I just, started just continuing to educate myself. One day I met this beautiful girl at church, later became my wife.
I see what you did there. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, so I met this girl at church one day, and I was talking to her about my goals. This is the first meeting we ever had. And
You just dropped your goals right
I
up
just
front,
dropped
right?
the goals, and she was like, oh my goodness, this guy's ambitious, right? So she told me that her uncle was an agent, and so she introduced me to her shady uncle. He turned out to be
Oh boy.
interesting. Took advantage of my inexperience, and this is again the year 2005 now. So I started educating myself in 2004, self-educating myself. In 2005, I meet with her uncle. January of that year, he helps me buy my first property. Now, this is back when they were giving out loans to anybody, like these, as long as you had a pulse, basically.
Right. Yeah.
They were giving out these loans. And so I was able to buy my first property from him, bought a second property from him as well. The second one was a duplex. But when I bought them, I realized I way overpaid for them. I didn't buy them right. Through a little bit more reading, I realized, Dolmar, you're supposed to buy these properties below value, dilapidated, distressed houses, renovate them, fix them up, force the value up, and then sell them for a nice profit.
Yeah.
So again, I still didn't know what I was doing, just figuring things out on my own. And this is also, remember, before social media. YouTube was out, but not a lot of information about this was on there. And so I'm trying to figure this out and stumble my way through it.
Yeah.
I buy this third property in Lakeland, Florida on Brunel Parkway, and hired some guys to do the renovation on this house, not knowing what I was doing. Contractors took advantage of my inexperience, and I had to fire them. My dad helped me find some other crews from his church to help bail me out. I sold the property, broke even, so still made no money. So I failed on my first 3 deals. Fourth deal, I bought in Ybor City. It was a frame house, like no foundation, no roof. It was just a shell. I mean, no truss or anything, like literally just a shell.
Oh boy.
And 1 week into that renovation, the whole house falls down. I took out a $65,000 hard money loan to buy this house. And now 1 weekend, the whole house completely falls down to the ground. I am 20 years old, broke, $65,000 in debt. Like, Dean, I don't have any money at all. My back's against the wall. What do I do? And in that moment, all kinds of thoughts were going through my head. All these people that were around me, my parents, my friends, my ex-girlfriends, maybe they were right.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't have done this. Maybe I bit off more than I could chew. Maybe success is not meant for me. Maybe I'm not worthy.
Yeah.
All those thoughts were going through my head. And, you know, most people would have quit if they went through what I went through. I failed on my first 4 deals, back to back to back to back.
Yep.
And that was the first 3 quarters of the year 2005. But I also realized, it took a little moment, but I also realized, you know what? I'm at rock bottom. I'm in debt, college student, going to school full time, got this job. I lost the balloon job, but I got this other door knocking job. And I realized, you know what? I need help. I'm trying to do this on my own. I'm trying to educate myself, but it's costing me more time and money doing it on my own. It's costing me more time because I'm not having success any faster trying to do this on my own. It's taking me longer, and it's costing me money because I'm now $65,000 in debt because of a major costly mistake.
Yeah.
But I also know there are people out there that have success from doing this. I just don't know what they know. How do I gain that knowledge? How do I shorten the gap? And so I realized, you know what? I need a mentor. And I know I'm going to have to invest money in that. Where do I get the money from? And so that's why when I started to tap into my resourcefulness, I always tell people your biggest resource is your resourcefulness.
Yeah.
If someone were to throw you in jail and you had to come up with the bail money to get out, you figure it out. You could be dead broke, but you will figure it out. And so how badly do you want it is what I ask people. Like, how badly do you want it? So I tapped into my resourcefulness. I just started opening my mind, and instead of saying I can't afford this, I started asking better questions like, how can I do this? How do I do this? How do I find my mentor? How do I invest and pay for them? And I came up with an idea of like, you know what? I can take out a student loan that's supposed to be for my tuition and my books, and I can invest in mentorship. And so I did that. I was able to qualify for a $15,000 loan. I could have used it for my tuition. I could have used it to pay off this lender that I owed $65,000 to, pay them 15 grand and work out a balance on a payment plan on the balance owed, or invest in myself. In Q4 of the year 2005, I invested in my education, my mentorship. And in the last quarter of that year, my mentor helped me to negotiate with the lender who I owed all this money to, what's called a partial release. They helped me because now that the house was falling down, it fell down.
Yeah.
I now just own the lot. The lot at the time was worth 30 grand. So my mentor helped me to negotiate a partial release with the lender to sell the lot to a builder. That brought my debt down to $35,000. And then he taught me the art of wholesaling. I call it flipping paper. And so he taught me how to paper flip. And in the last quarter of the year 2005, I made $60,000. That was more money than I've ever seen in my entire life. It was enough money to pay off the balance owed. It was enough money to pay off my loan, and put some money in my pocket. And of course, me at 20 years old, never seen that kind of money before. I went out and go I went and bought a Hummer H2 and started spending money. I thought it
You
would.
were a big shot now.
Yeah, now I'm
You're
like,
ready to
oh my
go.
God, look at me.
Yep.
And going into the next year, the year 2006, I was making upwards of $50,000 a month. Local newspapers were writing articles about me and my story. I thought it would never end. I thought it was going to constantly rain money.
Wow.
And then, 2008 came around and blew everything
Newsflash for
out.
everybody, right?
Yes, it was. So I lost
That's crazy.
everything. Filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy. I took a 2-3 year hiatus from the business because I was embarrassed. I
Of
became a
course.
recluse. I can't believe this happened to me. I worked so hard
Yeah.
and I just gave up. You couldn't pay me to get back into real estate. And while I quit, friends of mine, Lee, Drew, Jason, they pivoted. They figured out how to adapt to that current state of the market, and their businesses drastically took off. While I was back struggling, trying to figure out how to put food on the table for my 2-year-old daughter at the time.
Yeah.
I got married around this time too. Went on my honeymoon and
Oh
came
man.
back to go see a bankruptcy attorney. That's not how you start a marriage.
Ah.
Thankfully, I had a good woman that stuck by my side, but I had a very rough start.
Yeah.
But I stuck with it. These guys helped me shift my mindset, get back in the game. In the year 2011, I got back into real estate and just took off. First month, I did 1 deal. Second month, I had 7 deals going. By month 3, I had 17 deals on the contract, and I became one of the biggest buyers in my primary market until the big hedge funds came into town and ruined that story. But I was able to have a lot of success my second time around. And when you're going through a lot of what seems like failure and you're at rock bottom, spiraling down this deep dark hole of depression, it sucks in the moment. But in hindsight, it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
Yeah. Wow.
Hey, what's up, guys? If you want to learn more about how you can join my community where I'm going to work with you hands-on, make sure you click that link down below. Let's go.
One thing I want to talk about, which we kind of overlook this, maybe discount it, but going back to the way that you grew up, you were a pastor's son.
Mm-hmm.
How did you guys view money? There's some pastors like Joel, I can't remember his last name.
Joel Osteen.
Joel Osteen, who's on stage, and that guy's making more money than all of us. And then there's the pastors that are making $30,000 a year. What was the money conversations that you had growing up? Did you guys talk about money? Was money abundant? Was it scarce?
Yeah, I mean, my parents helped us to feel like we were okay, like we were well taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't ever want for anything. My parents did a really good job raising us, but they were not wealthy by any means. My dad was the latter, the pastor making $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
And we never really had conversations about money or finances. That was just not their expertise. They didn't have any specialized knowledge on that. So I oftentimes would see my dad doing side gigs to make extra money.
Yeah.
Or enrolling into different scams or whatever. Like he's always enrolling into stuff online and doing scratch off stuff and buying, what was it, the sweepstakes thing back in the day where they'd come knock on your door, like the Publishers Clearinghouse.
Yeah.
He would do all these things trying to win it big and make some extra money. And I saw that. I think that also watching my dad do that was a subconscious motivator as well to want to change my life and do more. And I knew I was worthy of more. And for me to pursue that. The other reason I did it too is I had an ex-girlfriend back in the day who made me feel like I was a nobody.
Wow.
That was a big driving force for me. When we separated, she wasn't so kind about my jobs,
Your circumstances?
my circumstances. I was driving a beater car. I had 4 different wheels. All 4 wheels looked different. One had a hubcap, one had a rim, one had nothing. It was just the bumpers were black, the windows didn't work, go up or down. AC sometimes worked. So when I say had very humble beginnings, I really did. And she was more interested in being taken care of and dating the guys that were making $10,000 a month, good money. And she didn't say these words, but the way she treated me, the things she said to me, made me feel like a nobody, like I was not worthy. Um, and it was a driving force for me initially. My why was to prove her wrong, to prove to her and myself that I am worthy of success.
Yeah.
And I was so grateful when I worked hard. I was so grateful when I finally cracked the code with the help of my mentor. And then later on, when I met my beautiful wife, got married with kids, my why changed. It became all about family and legacy and so on. So those were there are different defining moments in my life that led me down this path because fear of failure, not feeling good enough, not being able to provide, those fears that oftentimes keep people stuck, not being able to start, I used it as fuel to
Yeah.
push me forward. I
Yeah.
never wanted to have that life again.
Yeah.
I wanted my kids to have a better life. So,
So, for me, my whole life was sports growing up, made it to the NFL, saw some of Hall of Fame legends, and we had, on stage last night, we had a guy in the NBA. He's around guys like Michael Jordan and LeBron playing against them, Kobe. Uh, and there's always, when you really get down to the people that get to those elite levels, there's always some driving force. There's some edge that was created or they created.
yeah.
And same is true with a lot of the people that we know, the people we rub shoulders with, real estate entrepreneurs that are at the top of their game. And it always seems like there's a little something, whether it's the way they grew up or something they're creating themselves that's driving them. Do you feel like that's important to have that edge to continue to push through, to overcome the obstacles, to get to the levels that you've gotten to?
Yeah, you have to have a deep relationship and understanding of your why. There's a why we do certain things. Um, Oftentimes when I ask people, hey, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? For example, I have students that I'm mentoring to get into real estate. And oftentimes when I ask the question like, why do you want to do real estate? Why do you want to be a real estate investor? Why now? Why is it important to you? And I often hear the same answer: financial freedom, money, legacy. And then I said, okay, great. Well, that's most people's answer, but why is that important to you? And the common response I often hear is, well, just because I want financial freedom. They don't really understand why they want it. And unfortunately, that's not going to be enough to push you when, the days get tough, because in this business, like most businesses, it's not a walk in the park. It's tough. It's challenging. You know, so what's going to motivate you and inspire you to wake up every morning, roll your sleeves up, dig your heels in, and get to work? It's not the money. It has to be a deeper reason than that. So I tell them, well, ask yourself at least 3 times, why is financial freedom? Why is the money important to you? Dig deeper. Why is that? And so they start to think like, well, and they give different answers. And then I ask, well, how will it make you feel when you actualize and accomplish that goal? How will it make you feel?
Mhm.
Because it's that feeling that's going to push you and motivate you and empower you, inspire you to wake up and do what sometimes when you don't want to, when that bed is feeling real comfortable, or when
Right.
things around you are falling apart and you have to problem solve and be resourceful. That's that feeling that's going to be your fuel and your engine to keep you moving forward. So you got to have a deep understanding and relationship with your why, and also know that the reality that you live right now is a direct reflection of decisions you've made your entire life.
Mm.
So you also have to protect your mindset. Athletes are really good at this. The mindset is so critical to your success in sports and in business, and actually in anything you do. Mindset is key. Your mindset influences your emotions influence your decision making,
Hmm.
and your
Yep.
decisions ultimately, you know,
Your
impact
results, right?
exactly the results. And so the reality of people's lives right now are a direct reflection of decisions they've made their entire life. So if you are not where you thought you'd be right now in life, Well, that's because of decisions you made. If you're not happy with your job, the 95 job, well, that's because you made the decision to settle for that job. If you're not happy with where your kids go to school, where you live, the car you drive, the house you live in, you settled. You made that decision. I see a lot of people they love to play victim, right?
Yeah.
They have that victimization mentality. We don't get to choose how we come into this world, but every single one of us have the power to choose and decide who we become. A lot of people often like to blame other people for their lack or their circumstances, their problems. Oh, it's this person's fault. It's that person. Oh, it's the government. It's the dude. You have to take responsibility for your own life. And so, if the playbook you've been playing from hasn't brought you to where you think you deserve to be right now, the good news is you also have the power to change it, change the game plan. I'm using sports analogies for you.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
But yeah, I mean, you just got to change the game plan. That's it.
Yeah.
And align yourself with people that can help you get there a lot faster.
Yep. So you talked about failure. Okay. You had some early failures, and probably not your only failures, right? I know I had early failures and other additional failures myself that were hard,
Yeah.
very hard emotionally, mentally, um, you know, and it seems like every successful person I speak to has had to overcome failures, right? And I don't think there's a person I've met that hasn't had many failures. And we're not just talking about it didn't work out. We're talking about lost money,
Yeah.
like in a bad spot, had to
Yeah.
overcome all odds. What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned through your failures?
Protect your mindset. Protect your mindset and stay connected to like-minded individuals, a community of people that can help you through that. Because when I wanted to get into real estate, I protected my mind and I didn't allow my parents, friends, people I was in relationships with to stop me from getting started. I was so driven. So my girlfriends, parents, friends, no one could stop me. But then when I lost it all in that recession in 2008, man, I did not protect my mindset and I gave up on everything.
Mm,
I was spiraling down a deep, dark hole of depression. I was having thoughts that were not good. It was bad.
wow.
And seeing 3 years later how my friends pivoted and adapted and were thriving, not surviving, but thriving when I was struggling, I realized it all came down to mindset. Because that day when I met with those three friends, it's like they flipped a light bulb. It's like a switch just went off and I was back.
Really?
And within a week of that meeting, just hanging out with them, by the way, just hanging out. Within a week of meeting them and hanging out with them, I was like, that day just flipped a light switch. And I secured $1 million in funding later that same week. And so I would say, one of the biggest mistakes I made was not staying connected to like-minded individuals that would
Huge.
keep me focused in the game and so on. So right now we're sitting here at an event, a mastermind of people that are our peers
Yep.
who are just absolute rock stars, world changers, mentors, coaches,
Givers.
givers
Yep.
that are collectively together. We're all changing people's lives. We're changing the world. And I stay connected and plugged into groups like this because it also feeds me. We give so much to others.
Yeah. Right.
We come here twice a year to fill our cups again
Yep.
and get refilled around our peers that understand what we're going through and understand our struggles. And we can be vulnerable and share what are some challenges I'm dealing with right now and find a solution in this group, in this
Yep.
room to help us through that. We were just having a conversation.
You said it perfectly. I was like, "Are you talking about me?" Because
Thought about that.
I was just talking about problems I need to solve, and I've been going around to person after person,
Yeah.
and it's incredible that these people, highly successful in their own rights, are putting their hands out and saying, "I'm willing to help you,"
Yeah.
and giving ideas and providing solutions and offering their time
Yeah.
to further work through it. And I'm just, it's really humbling because naturally as entrepreneurs, we do a lot.
Yeah.
We wear a lot of hats.
Mhm.
We're the ones responsible at the end of the day for all this. So to sometimes ask for help doesn't feel natural because we've done so much on our own. But in order to have those breakthroughs, as you said, you found a coach, you found a mentor to figure it out and do it the right way.
Yeah.
And it's no different here. I'm surrounded by successful investors, coaches, educators, and they all want to help me. So
Yeah. Yeah. I was I actually forgot
You-
5 minutes ago. We were
you're
just-
pointing the finger at me. It felt like
No, I did not even remember that. I was like, oh my gosh, 5 minutes ago we were just doing
we
that.
were just talking about.
Talking
Yep.
about challenges and solutions. So, but that's why I like being a part of groups like this. And the biggest mistake I made back then is not staying connected to groups and people like this because it took 3 years away from me where my family struggled. Like, Dean, I couldn't put food on the table for my 2-year-old daughter at the time. I
Wow.
was going to Amscot. I had to get a regular job for a little bit, a short period of time. And actually, my wife did. It wasn't even me. I forgot. My wife did because I was so depressed. I was just paralyzed. I couldn't do anything. I can't believe this. And again, back then, I started to have, as much as I was against it, I started to have the victim mentality. Like, why me? Why did this happen to me?
Yeah, it's tough.
And yeah,
Go down that rabbit hole. It's hard to get out
yeah.
sometimes.
And so 3 years. And so
Yeah,
my wife
that's
got
crazy.
a job. And then I remember, and I had a little gig for a little bit too. And I remember having to go to Amscot to get payday loans just to be able to pay my bills. And then I borrowed money from my dad's paycheck to pay that off. And I was in that cycle for a couple months. That's how low I got. Humbling. And I think back on that time a lot is because I did not protect my mindset. And you know, that might sound cliche, but that was one of the single biggest mistakes I made in my life is that because I lost 3 years of time and I see how my friends in that same period of time, their businesses just took off.
Yeah.
Like dramatically took off. And if I was in the game, I could have had a lot more accomplishments and you know, things that I could
Been
talk
on a
about.
beach somewhere.
Yeah, my resume would have looked a lot better, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the podcast. I wanted to take a moment to tell you about my coaching program and the community. Besides teaching you exactly what we're doing in our multiple 7-figure real estate investing business, we also have several group coaching calls a week, and I give you my personal cell phone so you can text me whenever you need help. Now, if you're ready to take things to the next level, click the link down below in the description to apply. Now let's get back to the podcast. Let's go.
So something that's interesting. We talked about this before. You know, you're star of A&E TV show, right? And it's something that you wanted to do. And I always thought that when you meant that, you wanted to be the star of the show. But in fact, you wanted to be a part of a show, but not the main person.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that now you're the star and a little bit shy. So what led you to even want to be a part of a show?
My business partners, actually. So my business partners, Francis, Brian, and Richard, they pushed me to be in this position. I didn't want it. In fact, my company, Real, people ask me all the time, what does Real mean?
Yeah.
It represents all of our different companies, Real Advisors, Real Education, Real Capital, and there's a couple others. But with our company, our education company, Real Advisors, we initially started this company to positively impact people's lives through education, specialized knowledge. But we did it by publishing other experts, other people who were great at in their niche, top of their game. And so I got really good at and comfortable being behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I got really comfortable making these guys celebrities and stars. My nickname became the Kingmaker because I was so good at it. I never wanted to be in the forefront or on TV. I wanted those guys to shine. 2020 happened, COVID, and that dramatically shifted and changed our business. And we had to end up shutting down one of our brands. We sold one of the other ones. That was very, very amicably done. And my partners looked at me like, well, Dolmar, we are days away from filing bankruptcy, and we got to do something. We think that you should probably teach and share your knowledge because you do have the track record, you have the years of experience, you have the receipts. So, why don't we publish you? And I reluctantly said yes because I knew my partners, they're all looking at me for help at that time. And I didn't want to do it, but I reluctantly said yes. And we also started doing something different than our business model was. When we started Real Advisors, we were only teaching active investors looking to scale their existing business. And with that, it was a very awesome avatar because you
Right.
don't have to convince them real estate works. You don't have to talk to them about mindset. Right? They're already making money. They
Yeah.
already know this works. They just needed some additional tools to add to their existing tool belt to scale. So it's a very simple, easy business. We decided to do something different and open up our floodgates to teach newbies. And with that, we know from past experience with other companies that that is going to bring a lot more pressure, a lot more work. We're going to have to scale up our team to
Higher
handle,
expectations.
higher expectations. People are going to whine and give up on themselves easily. They don't believe in themselves. It's going to be a lot more work for us, training wise and customer support wise. But we said we're going to do it. In fact, some of my team were pissed that we were going down this route and going down this path. But we said we're going to do it, and I was going to lead the charge teaching, and so I did. And the stories that I heard that were coming out of what we were doing were so moving. It would make me emotional even now just thinking about some of them. The single mothers who are now today have a rental portfolio and making way more money than they were before. The school teachers barely making ends meet. The guys that came out of federal prison because of mistakes they made in their past, now doing positive things to build back up the communities that they once tore down. Lady who was, I think about Alicia Drake, who was going through domestic abusive relationship, shot a few times, couldn't even remember some of the things that she was studying and learning because of her learning disability. She'd have seizures often because of all the abuse she went through. She had to work harder than everybody else in her class. And within 30 days, in our program, closing her first deal. I think about a guy at FedEx working in the packaging department, closing his first deal in 30 days, and then another deal the second month, the third month. And now he's like, dude, I got to quit my job. I'm doing this. If I'm doing this part-time, making this much money, I could imagine if I do this full-time. And so I'm just grateful for the lives that we were able to change and the positive impact we were able to have on people's lives. In fact, we're teaching people globally how to do this. We have students in Ecuador, in Singapore, in Canada, in all the Caribbean islands, South Africa. We have students all over the world. And just seeing the stories and the lives change because of a direct result of what we're doing, I was like, man, it's really cool to just play a small part of their journey and do this. So that continued to motivate me, just seeing the success stories, the testimonials that were coming out of what we're doing. So it gave me confidence to keep going. And then we tried to get TV shows in the past for some of the people that we're working with. It never worked out when we were trying to pursue it on our own. Even my mentor back in the day tried to get a TV show. It just never worked out. But my business partner, Francis, just happened to be at a mastermind one day. We do invest a lot in our self-education. And so he was at a mastermind one day talking about our business model, talking about what we're doing. There just happened to be a guy attending that same event that was the cousin of a casting director that for a production company that was looking for talent in Tampa for a show, a flipping show, a real estate show. And so they interviewed me along with other people, and they liked what they saw, and they did some more filming, sent everything to A&E, and A&E's like, hey, get that guy a contract. And here I am 8 months later after background checks and all that stuff. We were filming Zombie House Flipping, right?
Zombie House Flip in Tampa.
Yep.
That's wild. It's crazy how the dots can connect sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And one thing leads to another. I'm curious to find out more about what it's really like to be on TV. So
It's not what I expected.
all right, I've been on TV for sports,
Uh-huh.
right, playing in games and stuff like that. But you're on a, you know, A&E house flipping show. You have a different audience. It's not necessarily the sports fan who's always watching. You're watching. You're going into the households of people who are sitting down, looking to learn about real estate or to be entertained. Right.
Yeah.
Not too different from sports, I suppose. So, what has that whole experience been like for you? Like, really, really real. What it's been like. Is it weird? Do you get a bunch of weirdos reaching out to you? Have you received a lot of like love and praise? What has that kind of world been like from other people?
A bit of all of the above. We have a lot of people who love us, and we have also people who love to hate us.
Yeah,
And when you put yourself in that world, you have to be open to a lot of criticism and opinions, people's opinions. And some of it can be great, some of it can be helpful, some of it can be hurtful. And so you have to have tough skin. And, I knew that going into this, and I was prepared for that. My wife did not want to film with me in the beginning. Does not like the camera either, like me, the public eye. But thankfully, after my first season and having a little bit of experience of what it was like, I was able to convince her to at least try for my second season. And so, I'm filming with my wife now, and she's absolutely crushing it. But the start for me was interesting. It's not like we get any coaching or training or heads up on how to do this.
yeah,
We get a TV show and they throw you right in, and you're just navigating through every day of filming and what that's like. One of the cool things that's different, you talk about real. So some of the things that I've learned from being in this industry is that a lot of things with reality TV are fake. It's a lot of it's not reality at all.
yeah,
In fact, there are networks out there that have reality TV shows where everything is scripted. Everything's scripted. And sometimes you can tell, and sometimes you may not be able to tell, but it was quite a eye opener for me about how much fakeness there is out there. What I would say about A&E and what they're trying to do with A&E, and I love the entire team at A&E, and the leadership team there, and what they're trying to do there, not just with the zombie franchise, my show and the other teams, but all of the other shows on A&E as well. You got Triple Digit Flip, 50/50 Flip, and new shows coming out in the real estate space. They are trying to follow the real of our businesses. And so they want real risk, real stakes. They want us to really be involved in these deals, whether we're buying them or joint venturing. There has to be real financial risk. So they're following us documentary style
yeah,
to shadow us, be a fly on the wall, if you will, and just follow what we're doing. When challenges or problems happen that could be costly for us, they're following that. They want to see how we navigate and solve that problem and get out of that situation. A situation is happening with the house that's bad, not going good, not as expected, which happens often with these fix and flip shows. How do you solve that? Are you going over budget? What does that mean? And one of the other big things that A&E is trying to do, unlike other shows before, is a lot more edutainment. They want to entertain you, but also educate you. And so we have this thing we talk about all the time called attainable aspiration. We want people watching our show to see themselves in my shoes, like believe that they can do this too.
yeah,
And we're going to show you how we do it by having the conversation of how did we source the deal? How did we structure the deal? How do we fund the deal? And show people that oftentimes you don't have to have the cash, the credit, the credentials, like tax returns, bank statements, to get involved in real estate.
right,
You just got to be resourceful and creative. And so we're telling these stories of how I find the deals, how I structured the deal, how I fund the deal. And you also get to watch the entire transformation from ugly, nasty, disgusting to beautiful, sexy, homes. That's my word. I say
Sexy.
sexy a lot. So we're showing you that transformation, and you get to learn and be entertained throughout the entire process. And so what's real in our show is following all of that. But there's some times where, sometimes with reality TV, you see it often. Like a lot of TV is scripted, and we're with A&E. They're trying to get away from that. They are getting away from all of that.
I love how my eye just started watering, but
Were you crying for me?
I was crying for
Was
you,
this
man.
a-
That was beautiful. Oh. And when you said sexy, it got me excited. My eye will fix itself, but I love how you said about it being, a lot of other shows being scripted and stuff. I'm just remembering back to playing football and knowing what really happened, what the real story was, and then the news takes it, right, and spins it however they want. And it's usually not the truth.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the real story.
And so that's another thing we had to learn. Like, this is the part where we're not coached. I have to learn how to, we're not coached on how to prepare ourselves for this industry. We have to figure out how to take our real businesses, our real operations, the things we do every day, which in itself already, a fix and flip operation has a lot of moving parts, a lot of pieces to the puzzle, and it's very complex sometimes. And so we had to learn how to take this and marry it to this TV world over here, because we have our deadlines and our process over here, but then we also have TV deadlines and processes over here. One of the first lessons I learned on, I think it was my second episode in season 5. So the first 4 seasons of Zombie House Flippin' were started by a team in Orlando. They are the OGs and the original stars of the show. The show was doing so well for A&E, they wanted to franchise it and open up other cities. So they opened up Tampa and other cities in season 5. And so my second episode in season 5, in real life, when I do a renovation, sod is one of the last things I put down at a renovation at a house, because there's still a lot of construction going on, and I don't want
mess up the
machines
grass
and debris. You can mess up the grass. So it's one of the last things we put down. And when we did that at this house, we were filming the final walkthrough. I'm like, this grass looks like crap because it's brand new. It's like, choppy and not smooth and not green and luscious and cut and edged. And so this episode airs, I'm like, that grass looks horrible. It's brand new, but it looks bad. And so, again, those are some of the, as small as this might be, it's one of the nuances that I realized from being on the show is my process over here might have to tweak slightly, not much, but slightly, for it to match TV. Yeah. So I'm going to do sod a little earlier, a couple weeks earlier, so that it has time to grow, be watered, and cut, so that by the time we do the reveal for the show, it looks nice and beautiful. So little things like that we had to figure out. And then also, when things happened, when big problems happen, they're like, whoop, don't fix it yet. We got to obviously talk about it. We got to capture it.
Yep.
So my producers, man, anytime anything ever goes wrong, they're happy. They're jumping for joy, like, yes.
They're all excited.
I'm sorry, Dolmar, but yes.
Yeah.
Let's tell a story about this. Let's talk about it. So they try to follow in real time also as much as possible.
Yeah.
And but for me, it was just a learning process to just marry these two worlds together. And it took a little while to even, so here's the other thing. With production, I believe with all the A&E shows, our show and the other shows, the production companies are not used to following documentary style, the realness of a house flipping show. Because you've done flips, you do flips even now. With these flips, sometimes, especially the kind of houses we're doing, there's engineering drawings involved.
Yeah.
That process takes weeks.
Time.
Yeah, It takes time. And then once that's done, you got permits. That also takes time. And then when inspections happen, if you don't pass, there's delays there. And so what do you think that means for TV schedule? Yeah. It screws up their schedule all the time. And so these production companies trying to fit this new format that A&E's trying to, let's follow the reel, oh, it messed them up. They were not prepared for that because they're used to scripted. Houses already bought. They already have a design team in the background. They're leading the story in this direction they want it to go in. That's all scripted. This is different. And so the production company, it was a struggle and a learning curve for them too,
Yeah.
to be able to navigate these waters. And so we had a lot of this sometimes happening, but we worked through it. And I think they have been able to, with the help of the network a lot, their guidance, especially the executives there, been able to work together to find our way and figure things out to produce a great show that's both entertaining but also educational, following as much of the reel as possible.
Yeah. Well, what was it like the first time you saw yourself on TV?
I hated it. I hated it. In fact, I never watched it again.
Yeah.
I still, to this day, I'm not even watching.
Don't watch it?
No, I've never.
Yeah.
I watched it one time and that was it.
It's painful, right?
I don't like it. I
Yeah.
don't like watching myself. I think most people don't like listening to themselves.
No. You get tired of your voice. You don't like the way you look,
Yeah.
what you said. Why did I say it that way? Right?
Could have done it a lot better.
I should have said more sexy, you know?
Dude, no.
More
No. So here's the other thing. We don't get to control what they edit, what they keep or cut
Yeah.
out. When the show airs, we see it as the cast, we see it for the first time just like the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And so the very first episode in season 5 for Tampa, dude, I must have said sexy like 100 times. And it became this whole thing online. Like, oh my God, he just says sexy so much. We need to make it a drinking game. Some people hated it. They hated it. They crucified me for it. And the network was like, hey, Dolmar, you know what? Double down. Because you're going to have 200,000 people over here that love it and another 200,000 people over here that hate it. But guess what? It's 400,000 people talking about it. So I calmed it down a little bit now. I don't say it as
You
much
pulled
as I
back
used
on the
to.
sexy?
A little bit. But honestly, Dean, that's how I am in real life though.
Yeah.
Like I say sexy a lot. It's who I am.
Yeah.
But I tone it down a little bit.
Yeah. That's funny.
What I love most now though, is that my family's more getting involved. My wife is filming with me. And I love the dynamic of the show a lot more now. And I'm also getting a lot more comfortable now than I was when I first started. So I love the stories that we're telling now. We're also educating a little bit more as well. And
Cool.
I'm actually hearing that quite a bit. Like I'm actually taking notes. Even people that are in real estate. And I'm like, oh, I learned something new. Honestly, I'm even learning stuff new.
Sure.
When problems come up on the show, like, dude, I didn't know that. Just a couple weeks ago, we had a pool situation, and my wife was like, who's project manager on the show, she's like, hey, this is going to cost us $10,000 to resurface this pool. I'm like, absolutely not.
Right?
We're going to solve this. And I didn't know how I was going to solve it. Just started making phone calls. And I came across a company that had a solution, and even the pool company didn't even know this existed. They did research too. And found out, hey, instead of resurfacing the pool, as long as it's not cracked, as long as the shell is not cracked, there are products out there with the paint products that you can buy to paint the shell of the pool. And it has a membrane in it that can coat it, and it'll last 4 or 5 plus years.
Huh.
Because we were trying to acid wash and clean it, it wasn't working.
Yeah.
So the shell was looking nasty and dingy. And I'm like, dude, it's going to cost us $10,000 to fix this. I'm like, we don't got the budget. We got to figure this out. And so I'm also learning sometimes things on these shows. And again, the people get to watch and see how I solve these problems, how I problem solve it.
Yeah.
So I also love that we're telling more stories, awesome stories, and we're educating as well.
That's awesome.
Is it getting really loud now?
I can't tell. There's a bunch of excited people in the lobby, dressed up about to go somewhere. So,
Yeah.
and they're loud talkers.
Yeah.
That's all right. So what do those days look like? Those days
Long.
of shooting, on set.
Yeah.
You already got a business. You already got a family. You got kids. How do you manage all that? Trying to juggle the family, the schedule that your kids might have.
Yeah.
You're on set chasing around. How do you make all that work?
It's not easy. And we make it work with a lot of help and a lot of support. I have an amazing team. I have amazing partners. My staff. It takes a lot of effort and work and a lot of grace as well, because it's definitely not easy. And now that my wife is swimming with me too, both parents, with kids, away. So we have 8-hour filming days, but we have a good producer in the field that helps to work with our schedule a little bit. So we have enough time to drop the kids off to school, get to set right away, and stop filming at a certain time so we can get back quickly to pick up the kids. But every day, my wife and I drive separately, just so we have flexibility.
flexible.
Yeah, just in case I got to stay back longer on set, she can go. And so we just had to figure it out as we went along to be able to do this. But it's definitely not easy. It's with, thankfully, an amazing team, an amazing partner, and a lot of grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you the hard-hitting question. If you
Okay.
had a choice
Oh boy.
to do it all over again and to get into TV, be on a TV show, be the star, be the face of the franchise, would you do it all over again?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. It's a lot of work, but I signed up for this, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. This is a rare opportunity that not a lot of people have. And a lot of people who have been given this opportunity squandered it.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I'm pretty good at marketing. My team especially is good at marketing, and we're looking at this as a launching pad to be able to have a bigger platform to have more reach and spread our message, positive message that can change people's lives. And in partnership and in collaboration with A&E, I think we've started to accomplish that goal. And with more episodes coming out, we're going to continue that mission. Dude, I have 35 episodes to do. That also is not common. 35 episodes. My start in this is 35 episodes. That is like 3 seasons. So I'm grateful for the opportunity, and I'm grateful for the people I get to work with every day, the film crew, the producers, the production company, A&E. Like, I'm grateful for all of it, even with the challenges. Like, dude, a lot of the times it's been struggle.
I'm sure.
Like a lot of headbutting. But just navigating through it has made all of us better, stronger. And again, I'm looking at the bigger picture, the bigger mission, being able to touch and reach and positively impact people's lives through what we do.
Awesome.
So yeah, I'll do it all over again.
All over again.
Yep.
Cool. Well, dude, it's been an absolute pleasure to spend some time with you.
Finally.
You couldn't get away from me this time. We were in the same building. Wasn't going to let it happen.
No, I'm glad
We made it happen.
Glad to do it.
So had a good time, man. Get to know you a little bit more. For the people listening, get to know a little bit more what it looks like, feels like.
Yeah.
And you see somebody on TV, you just assume they got it all figured out. It was easy, right?
No.
But the real story is, it was a journey.
And it still is.
Still is.
It still is. We're still learning. We're still finding our way. Still making mistakes.
Yeah.
But you get to watch and learn as well, so you don't have to make the same mistakes we did. I'm your crash test dummy, guinea pig.
Right.
So you can learn from my mistakes and successes, so you can go copy and implement as well.
Yeah. So there you guys have it from Dolmar Cross, star of Zombie House Flipping Tampa. There we go.
Yeah.
And absolute pleasure, man.
Thanks,
Appreciate
man.
you coming on.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Take care.